Hello, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you 6 summer romance recommendations. Super excited to be doing this, especially considering how freaking hot it already is here in Texas. I don't know when like summer officially starts. I feel like it's June or something, but I'm fine with being early. I'm giving you those early summer romance recommendations, books that you can read on your upcoming vacation, or just to, I don't know, get those good summer vibes. I'm excited to share these. There's a couple of books that I'm sure you've heard of before, but some of them I think are books that I've like never recommended here on my channel, so I think this should be fun. So the first book is one that I definitely have recommended before, and it is In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. I read this book earlier this year and totally fell in love with it. This book, I believe, is partially set in the summer and definitely feels very summery to me. It's about a woman named Shay who ends up going back to the small town she grew up in Rhode Island and kind of reconnecting with a former friend. Oh my goodness, Pepper is like all about the pets today. I totally get it. I'll be back here for the remainder of the video. Anyway, this book is about Shay who reunites with a friend who she used to be kind of close with when she was in school. She always felt sort of like left out in this small town and never really felt like she totally belonged, but her like step grandmother left her a farmhouse and was like, hey, I guess you can have this property, you can live here and also like start at my tulip farm, I believe is what she is being gifted. But this book is super charming because our hero Noah is head over heels from Shay from the very beginning. You can tell that he has a little bit of like anger left behind because Shay left him behind in the small town, or at least he feels that way, and he is trying to raise his niece who has a little bit of a potty mouth and is just totally hilarious. I personally love when there are children included in romances. I know that not everybody loves that, but I just loved everything about this story. I love a hero that goes above and beyond for the heroine. Oh, there's also a marriage of convenience situation. How could I possibly forget? I just feel like this is a book that will really blow most people away. And I feel like if you're someone who is always interested in the potential of picking up like a TikTok book recommendation, but is often disappointed, I think this one will really work for you. It is very tropey, and yet it is really well written and definitely packs an emotional punch. So I'd highly recommend In a Jam. All right, so I scored a copy of this next book at a Half Price Books, and so the edition doesn't really fit the vibe of the book, so no judgment, but now I don't have to insert like a picture, and that's nice. Less editing for me, okay? Falling Away by Penelope Douglas. This book is, I believe, the 4th in the Fall Away series, and the first book in the series is called Bully. I think it's a really popular one, but Falling Away is definitely the book that I remember loving in this series. That being said, I'm doing a whole reread of this series soon because it's just everything I want in summer. This book's about our two main characters, Casey and Jackson. Casey kind of messed up and now she is doing community service back home in her hometown. I believe she's like college age at this point, and she reunites with Jackson, who is a guy that I think she's always thought was cute. He definitely has always had a thing for her, but they've never really like pursued anything for multiple reasons, and one of those reasons is because Jax doesn't think he is good enough for her, which y'all know I'm a sucker for. I feel like Damaged Hero is just my personal thing. Like, I love it so much, and I feel like Jax is the perfect damaged hero. He definitely has trauma in his past, so there definitely is a discussion of that trauma in this book. I wouldn't say this is like a really lighthearted read, but I think that's what I love about the series as a whole. Like, there are definitely fun moments. Part of the series focuses on racing cars in sort of like illegal ways sometimes, so there's definitely like lighthearted components to the stories, but this is definitely one of the harder hitting ones. That being said, I really think this whole series would be awesome to marathon in the summer. Something about summertime just makes me want to pick up a new series, whether it's a fantasy series or a romance series. I know that's unpopular. I know a lot of people love to pick up series in the fall, especially like fantasy series, but for me, it's all summer, baby. That is what I did on my summer breaks in like middle school and high school. It's just find new series to get into, and I really think that the series is super fun. I don't think I sold this one very well, but if you like a good damaged hero, I feel like you got to pick this one up. And if you want something that's like silly and fun, Bully is definitely a good pick as well. I mean, all the books in the series are great, but Falling Away and Bully I think would be my recommendations if you only wanted to pick like one book up. Next up is a book that I don't know that I've ever really talked about in depth on my channel, and it is Chasing Cassandra by Lisa Kleypas. Lisa Kleypas is an author that I feel like I have a complicated history with. I read a couple of her books a while ago, back in like 2019, and I just could not find one that really worked for me. But after picking up her Ravenel series, and I can't remember the name of her other really popular series, I really grew to appreciate her writing style and how accessible her historical romances are. I would say they're maybe a little bit less accessible than like a Tessa Dare, but they're definitely not hard to read in terms of like language usage or anything. I feel like I want to point that out because I think a lot of people tend to not pick up historical romance because it just seems like a slog to get through. You're thinking like Jane Austen or something like that, right? Modern day authors of historical romance do a really good job at making the books fun to read, and it gives Bridgerton vibes, you know, what everybody's looking for, especially now that Queen Charlotte is out, which is again part of the reason that I recommended this book. I also think this book is really good if you are someone who has always wanted to dip your toes into historicals but doesn't really know where to start and wants something that feels fun. Whenever I was thinking about this book, I really thought of Ali Hazelwood's Heroes. I think you're gonna like this if you like Ali Hazelwood. So this book's about our two main characters, Cassandra, obviously, and Tom. Cassandra at the start of the story is looking for someone to marry, and more importantly, someone to fall in love with. She definitely wants a love match. She is absolutely stunningly beautiful, but yet she has not really had the best luck in love. At the beginning of the story, she has this sort of like meet cute situation with our hero, Tom Severin, and he is instantly drawn to her beauty and instantly just attracted to her mind as well. They have a pretty intelligent conversation, or she expresses interest, I believe, in some of like the smart things that he likes, and he is just enamored with her, but he also doesn't really know what to do with that information. He is kind of stoic, a little bit sociopathic, one might say. Like, he definitely gives a hero who's just totally unaware of his feelings, and normally I'm not into that, but for some reason in this book it totally worked for me. I loved our hero and how kind of himbo-y he was. I mean, he was like smart but also unaware of the fact that Cassandra was into him. It was just really delightful, kind of getting him to understand his love for Cassandra and like what love actually looks like, and getting to see Cassandra get like her dream man. He's also really wealthy, which like doesn't hurt. This book is just so charming. I haven't read very many books with heroes like this. I feel like, again, the closest I've ever come is like maybe first Ali Hazelwood book with the hero who's kind of just like unaware. But yeah, I absolutely love this book, and it's one that I don't think I talk about very much. I feel like I'm often recommending Tessa Darrow's like intro to historicals, but this one's really excellent, and the whole series as a whole is really fun too. All right, next up is a novella recommendation. I feel like summertime, you know, if you're not really a person who wants to get into a lot of series, or you are just in the mood to break a reading slump in the summertime or something like that, read Set by Alexandria House. I absolutely adored this, and I really want to do a reread soon because, again, it's just like one of those novellas that feels so complete and yet is such a good palate cleanser whenever you're just like, I need something short, sweet, sexy, sort of reset your reading mood. So this book's about our two main characters, Karima and Set, and they reunite at a high school reunion. They both kind of like knew who the other was. I believe Set had kind of a big crush on Karima, but she was a good girl and he was not a great guy in high school. But they discover at this high school reunion that they definitely have some feelings for each other that they want to explore. And the novella as a whole it definitely is emotional, I will say, but the majority of it is spent with the hero and the heroine having a lot of like dirty, hot, nasty sex on the weekends when they can escape their everyday responsibilities. Both of them are kind of more mature in age, I believe, like in their 40s, and so they have like successful businesses that they're trying to run. You also get to see Karima kind of deal with some family members in her life that make life a little bit difficult for her. It was surprising how a book that was only around 100 pages could tug on my heartstrings and get me to really care about a romance and people in general. Like, again, such a short page length. So I feel like this one is super hot, super steamy, and you would be remiss not to pick it up. The whole series as a whole is fun. I think there's 3 books and I think I've read all of them, but this was definitely my favorite. Next up is a queer recommendation, and that is Cancer Ships Aquarius by Anita Sunday. I love the Signs of Love series in general. I just think they're so much fun, and I think there's a new one out that I need to read, but this one is about a male nanny and a widow who end up in a relationship on a yacht, which I feel like just screams summer to me. So the book kind of opens up and we get to see that the widow whose husband died quite a while ago, he's just not really living life in the way that he should be. He has a 13-year-old daughter who doesn't really feel totally cared for. She sees her dad kind of like missing out on some of the more heartfelt moments because he just like misses his spouse a lot. And so the 13-year-old girl is like, okay, I know my dad's like looking for a nanny for me because he thinks I need like help, but I'm mature enough and I'm going to find someone as a nanny who's actually going to help my dad come out of his shell and be more present in my life. So our male nanny gets hired, and we also see that he has had kind of a string of failed relationships in his past, and obviously we get to see the nanny and the widow kind of like fall in love. It is so much fun. Obviously there is some discussion of loss. If that's triggering, I would definitely like recommend skipping this one, but I really liked seeing how they came together. I also think, again, I like when kids are in romances to like kind of bring the hero and hero together, or the hero and heroine, whatever, together. I just think it's a whole lot of fun. And I think if you are looking for just, again, like a marathonable series to pick up, I think the Signs of Love are just really, really fun. This one in particular, I just thought was really great. All right, next up we have a pretty obvious choice, I would say, but I don't know how much buzz this series typically gets, so I wanted to mention it. And that would be Rush by Candy Steiner. I don't remember the name of the series. It might be like Palm South University or something, because I think that's the name of the school. But this series is a very interesting one. It is sort of this like episodic thing that is supposed to be a mix of Greek meets Gossip Girl with a dash of Friends, and I feel like that's a really good descriptor of it. You've got a bunch of like fraternity guys and some like non-fraternity members, and then a bunch of sorority girls, and you get to see how their romances and personal lives just kind of like unfold over the course of their years in college. And each book is told very episodically. You get so many different points of view. You get to kind of see how things unfold. I'm not sure how many times I can say episodic at this point, but it literally literally feels like you're watching an episode of TV, but reading it, and it is just so juicy. I remember reading these a couple of summers ago, back to back, and I really think that's the way to do it. You don't want to like take too much time off between them, but I think if I were on a beach in Florida somewhere, this is what I would want to be reading. And since I have not completed the series yet, I will definitely be rereading the first couple of books and like finishing off the series when I go to Florida later this year. I just think these are a lot of fun. And the series is a mix of kind of harder hitting topics and also like fun college moments. You do have discussions of assault, which can be really prevalent, you know, in college and especially in Greek communities. So I'm glad that's discussed. But again, also you have like those lighthearted moments. So yeah, it's just a really great series. And I think it discusses a lot about like growing up and kind of like, you know, going after your dreams and stuff. I like it. I think it's fun. And the romances are really like hot and juicy. So would recommend this series. The first book is called Rush. And the last book that I have is another one that I own. And this is a book that I know that I've recommended multiple times here on my channel. But this one I think I read for the first time in the summer. And even if I didn't, it reminds me a lot of the summer. Regardless, Tools of Engagement is about our two main characters, Bethany and Wes. And Bethany is a part of this family of house flippers. And she is the interior designer who doesn't really feel like she gets enough respect for the work that she does. You get these like big flashy redesigns of kitchens and stuff. And she feels a little bit underappreciated in the family business. So she basically challenges her brother to a flip off where she is going to be in charge of like contracting out jobs for a flipped house. And her brother will be doing the same. And whoever has the better flipped product will be the winner of this competition. It's going to be televised. And the kind of like head foreman, I believe, on her particular house that she is renovating is named Wes. And he's a few years younger than her. It has an interesting set of life circumstances that make the story really heartfelt. I just love this. I love Bethany's character. She is someone who suffers from anxiety and some mental health disorders. And I thought the representation for that was really great. I also think a lot of the time authors try to go for these heroines that do have mental health issues or that are like maybe a little bit stoic or read as bitchy, and they don't tend to work for me. But something about Bethany's character in this book really worked for me. For some reason I'm like drawing similarities between the heroine in this book and then the heroine in Is It Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Similar vibes, but I like the execution of the heroine in this one better. Execution of the heroine. She's not getting her head chopped off, I can assure you. It's just like the way the character is written in this book I prefer. And then Wes is so fun. And then there's obviously that signature Tessa Bailey smut. It was delightful. It's a puzzle piece romance. It's everything that I personally really love from Tessa Bailey. And I think if you're someone who really enjoyed Cabin One Summer, I think you'll like this too. It's sort of an opposites attract thing. And I think this is definitely one of her more emotional romances, even though it is obviously pretty smutty as well. So those are my book recommendations for you for this summer. That went by really quickly. This was a really quick video, but hopefully this gave you some inspiration for your summer TBR. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite summer romances are. I would love to know, you know, because I want things for my own TBR. And I also think it would be helpful for the rest of us. So we can have even more recommendations in the comments. So thanks so much for watching this video. I love y'all so much, and until next time.